Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Prep Life Podcast. This is your founder and CEO of Glam Girl Bikini, Amy Anger. And today I'm joined by my fabulous co host, Lee Marie Hossetter, soon to be Jones. No, I'm just kidding.
Very
How are
soon,
you doing?
actually.
Very soon. Okay.
Mhm.
Updates? Do you want to share?
Yes, I have a great update, you guys. We got a taco truck for the wedding.
Ooh.
I just got this idea and I ran with it. And then I saw on somebody's Instagram the other day that they went to a wedding that had a taco truck. And I was like, maybe this is trending. I don't know. But on another note, if you're watching on YouTube, I thought I got tan over the weekend, but man, Amy, you are looking tan and jacked.
This is a,
Is that fake?
yeah. Oh, yeah. I
Oh,
don't think of this tan in terms of like just my skin health.
understand.
I
Yes.
can get this tan, but I choose not
Yes.
to.
That's good.
I've got a few coats of the orange glow.
I love it. Looks great.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to talk about bikini prep myths debunked, and I believe we've done some myth busters in the past, but we're going to just touch on some things just because we've had so much feedback from you listeners. We appreciate it. Just about like what you're appreciating, I guess, is the best way to put it. We like to hear what you think of it and the topics, and it seems like recently some of those topics about the stuff they don't tell you about prep and things like that have been helpful to everybody. Just a little bit more like beginner, like basic, not getting so much into the weeds, but just some of the things that, come up that if you've never done the sport, you may not know that this is, something that is important to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think too, a big thing of like why, like we're in 2025, the industry has been a thing and bodybuilding has been a thing for decades. Why do these myths still persist, especially like in the bikini world, wellness, fit model? Why do these myths still persist? And I think we just need to always remember that the fitness industry, the bodybuilding industry, it is an industry that has to make money and marketing is a real thing, and having like the shock factor, having, brand new like supplements and methods and novelty is huge for making
Hmm.
sales. So it's really important to, either you yourself or be educated or have a coach that knows science, that has experience, like real life experience, that knows the importance of like looking up research studies and actually finding what actually works, because there's always going to be these new things that come out and they try to sell you these myths that really are not true.
Yeah. So starting with myth number one, you have to do hours of cardio daily.
So that is definitely not true. And it definitely should not be true at the beginning of a prep. If you are starting out a prep doing hours a day or even an hour a day, you are definitely going to run into some overtraining. Definitely more is not always better. By the end of your prep, you might be doing an hour of cardio, maybe 2 hours of cardio a day. That should be a very short time because your body is going to adapt. And so we are always looking to shock the system and, spark fat loss, which takes quite a bit of it takes quite a bit of work to lose fat, especially as you get leaner. And so we need to be really smart about our programming, about our cardio, about the way that we burn calories throughout prep. And so it might be like switching up your cardio types. Maybe at the beginning of your prep, you do more HIIT cardio. Maybe near the end, you switch it up to steady state or steps. And you just definitely don't want to overdo it in the beginning.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with all of these thoughts about how to prep athletes and what coaches are doing right or wrong, I think it all boils down to there is no right answer for anything. There's no hard and fast rule. There's no like dogmatic approach to things because some people may break some of these, quote unquote rules where they're an athlete that's working hard, they've got the buy-in, they are empowered to do more movement if it means that they can eat more food or something like that. So I think, for some athletes, like I still just have them on a step goal and we're just tackling things nutritionally and we're getting beautiful results. because they just don't have time. Like they're busy being like a nurse practitioner and, you know, different things in life coming up, or, they're getting called into work at random times. So it's easier for them to control their nutrition versus the hours of time that they spend with their movement. So I just think that maybe some people do need hours of cardio. Maybe they need way more movement than others, and they allow for that time. But I think it's just like making sure that you're picking out that unicorn prep, that you have a coach that is catering to your lifestyle, what
Mhm,
works best with your schedule, your career, your family.
mhm,
And, at the end of the day, a caloric deficit is a caloric deficit.
mhm,
But which way you're going to tackle that is really up to that individual's needs and things like that. So I do think it's, I err on the side of doing less cardio in terms of, you know, the adaptations can be ones that really break down the muscle tissue, in my opinion. So I feel like the more that you can err on the side, if it's allowable for that athlete to not do a lot of cardio, because it does kind of give them a stringy look. It kind of
mhm.
puts a lot of inflammation in their body, and it can make them prone to injury. It can also just really like eat up their muscle at the end of the day. So in my mind, I want to be on the more conservative side of doing cardio.
Mhm.
And I might just have their non-exercise activity thermogenesis, like their NEAT, be a little bit higher in terms of like maybe a higher step goal, but just not like hours and hours of cardio.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, myth number two, you must only eat tilapia and asparagus.
Yeah, I think we've debunked that myth a long time ago, hopefully. That was definitely the diet that I was on when I first competed. And I believe that, at this point, I strongly feel if you have been in the sport for a long time and you want longevity, that macros are superior when it
Mhm,
comes to these types of things. I think everybody's at a different phase in the journey. Some people really appreciate the meal plan aspect and it doesn't ruin their relationship with food. Some people do really well with a meal exchange or a
mhm.
combination of the two. But again, it's that unicorn prep. It's like what is going to work for this person. But yeah, I mean, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, actually, so the reason people talk about tilapia and asparagus, tilapia is just a very lean protein source. Asparagus is very, very low calorie, and it's also a bit of a natural diuretic. So I think that's those two foods get put on a pedestal. Tilapia is definitely not the cleanest fish to be eating, but
It's a
eating
bottom feeder.
yeah, eating lean proteins and vegetables for fiber is definitely good, but you definitely want to have variety in your foods as much as you can in prep. So the sources, like the different types of protein, try to keep several in your week or from week to week, switch it up. Also your carb sources, your fat sources, really, really important. And then your vegetables and fruit, for as long as you can keep those in. I know like as carbs get low, maybe you're not eating as much fruit. Try to get those vegetables in, as much variety. I fall under the trap of just laziness, and I don't mind eating the same thing over and over and over. And so it's almost like a comfort to me in prep to like I look forward to this one meal. But
Hmm.
there have been times when I've actually kind of made my body have adverse reactions to certain foods just from overdoing them. And then just
Yeah.
switching it up is just really, really important. So, yeah, if you can do macros and you're good with that, flexible dieting, and you can keep it tight for as long as you can in prep, or if you can do that meal exchange where you're given options to choose from, I think that's always the best way to go.
Yeah. So what I've found, even though I do track macros, I still do meal planning in terms of, okay, like I'm going to make sure that I have my plain non-fat Greek yogurt this week every day. And I've shopped for that. And I have my 99% lean ground chicken, or if I'm doing 96% lean ground beef, making big batches of that. And like you, to your point, I think the closer you get, there's kind of like this prep funnel, right? So like you have like a big wide variety of foods when you're first doing like improvement season. You've got like a big macro budget, and as that macro budget starts to dwindle down, we start to eliminate some of the foods. So like one of the foods that I just eliminated this week was my protein Pop Tarts because
Mhm.
yeah, I mean I love them. She had a sad face if you're not watching on YouTube. But yeah, I mean they have a great amount of protein, great amount of carbohydrates, but they're a little bit higher in fat. And as my fats are dwindling down, I just don't want to use as much of my budget on an ingredient like multiple ingredients that are processed like that. It's like it tastes really good, but it doesn't really like keep you satiated for a long amount of time. And so like the lower my food budget gets, like the less like the more I lean towards the single ingredient foods, and I
Mhm.
start to get really basic by the end of it. So don't feel weird like if you are doing that, and don't shame yourself if you are actually eating tilapia and asparagus, because some people like the volume of the whitefish. Doesn't necessarily have to be tilapia. Maybe it's cod or halibut or whatever, but it's a great volume of like the ounces of
Mhm.
protein that you're getting for the amount of fat. That whole thing is like you get a lot of bang for your buck. In that fillet, So I think that, it's not anything that you can't do, and I think you can make it taste good in an air fryer. It's just
Mhm.
I got burnt out on it myself. I know you eat a little bit
Right.
of whitefish though.
I do like some whitefish. I've gotten actually really into tuna, like tuna steaks, not
Okay.
canned tuna. Like I'll eat
Gotcha.
canned tuna too, but I started getting tuna steaks and just searing them. Oh, I had those like every day for weeks. So it was
Are
great.
those expensive?
So, okay, yes,
Yeah,
but
I was
the
gonna
grocery
say.
store by my house had them on sale for like 3 weeks in a row.
Oh,
And so I would
nice.
get them for like $7, which is
Okay.
still kind of expensive, but better than like 12 or 13. But
Yeah.
also, I just kind of want to point out we talk a lot about protein sources, but also just think about if your calories are a budget and you have certain budgets, like like bills that you have to pay in your budget, and then you have extra money for fun stuff. So if you have a big calorie budget, you can hit all your nutrition needs and still have some of those processed things. But I was just thinking about how you said your fats were getting lower. And probably the fats in the Prop Tarts are not going to be as nourishing as something like avocado or like walnuts or salmon or something like that. And so, if you had the fats to eat those healthy things, or even with your carbs as well, like eating the more whole food carbs that give you the fiber and even some, micronutrients in your carbs. If you have a budget that allows you to have those staples and the extra things, that's fun. But or that could be okay. But as your budget gets smaller and smaller, it's still really important to get the healthy nutrients in as much as you can. And like the fiber and the vitamins and things like that. I know like as we get towards peak week and the carbs get really low and we try to like limit fiber and stuff, that's maybe not the most nutritious diet, but it's only for like a couple of weeks. And so I think it's really important to focus on a variety of fats and carbs as well.
Yeah, and I want to be careful about the word healthy because it's all relative, right? So
Mhm.
like a protein Pop Tart from Legendary Foods that are the ones that I'm talking about, that compared to a Kellogg's Pop Tart, I would say that's way more healthy because it has 20 grams of
Right.
protein, 20 grams of carbs, and it's only, I mean, it's 8 grams of fat. It's not a ton, but um, it's not, it's
Mhm.
like I have a zero fat, like Greek yogurt, non-fat Greek yogurt. That to me it tastes just as good, and kind of gives me that like sensation of having something like, even though it's tart, it's like, I don't know, it still feels like a treat. My point
Yeah.
is that you also need to figure the fourth macronutrient, in my opinion, not just protein, carbs, and fats, but also fiber. So you need to be attuned to like at least getting 20 grams of fiber as well. To your point, like an avocado has more fiber than my Pop Tart does.
Yeah.
And so that's going to slow down digestion. It's going to have more health benefits and things like that. So, yeah, like the micronutrient part of it is definitely a key that is important as well. All right, myth number 3. Do you want to take it?
Yeah, so you should cut water before stage day. So water cutting can absolutely backfire. You can get flat muscles, which I have definitely experienced. You can get cramping, which I have not experienced, but I have had competitors experience this. And there are, of course, health risks. Now, I've never done anything either myself or with my athletes that would be dangerous or a risk to your health. But I did definitely used to do like a water load and take a very, very low dose diuretic the week of peak week. And I do think that I looked flatter and like just more like stringy, like you said, and just not as full and plump as like really round, beautiful poppy muscles as when I did not do that and
Yep.
stayed very hydrated. Another thing that we have done is we'll drink a lot of water the night before a show. So you'll drink your gallon throughout the day or whatever, and then you'll drink another like 3/4 of a gallon in the evening, and then you're like peeing all night, but that's okay. It's the day before the show. You're not really sleeping anyways. But the day of the show, I would usually just try not to drink very much, purposefully only so that one, I wasn't peeing all day and messing up my tan, but two, so that your stomach wasn't full of water and you could hold it really tight. And we figured this out, I think, the maybe like the second or third time that I did a season with you, Amy, that if I stay hydrated during the day, even if I have to pee all day, I just go get my tan fixed. It's worth it because I start looking better as the day goes on if I stay
Yeah.
hydrated. And I would actually, my waist would get tighter instead of like kind of bloating a little bit. And so that would always just help me. So I actually stay hydrated all throughout the day on my show day.
Yeah. And it reminds me too of, I remember because I felt like torn when we were kind of like having, you were at the point where we were like having conversations about like, because you were coaching at this point, like, and we were in Iowa and you were on your period and you were going to do the Ben Weeder the next week.
Mhm.
And I was a little like, I kind of like accepted like the input and you were like, should I try the symmetry or whatever? And I'm like, we can try it, but I'm like, it's so like, I remember just seeing like your glutes from like one day to the next because you took it the symmetry. Uh, Luckily it was like a low, what do you want to say? Like,
Very low dose diuretic.
right. Well, it was a low dose diuretic, but it also like, the outcome of that show was just like we just had to we were doing it like the week before. So it
Oh,
was like
that worked well.
the
Yeah.
Ben Weeder was the important one. That's what but this
Yeah.
the one that mattered was like the one that we didn't experiment with this. So
Right.
yeah, I just remember looking at your glutes like that Thursday and then you were like, maybe I should just have this a little bit of symmetry so that like in case like I'm holding water for my period. And I remember seeing your glutes that Friday night and I was like, oh no, we should not have
Oh,
done this. And
yes.
it just like ever since then, I will never use that on you. And then we did it for the Ben Weeder, and your muscles came out really full, and like you placed in the open fourth or something like
Yep.
that. So
Yep.
it was it was worth like learning that lesson. And I think that it's important as a coach. But like what I've noticed over the years is, you know, the times that we have used a diuretic, even if somebody is on their period, it's just it adds a variable that isn't necessary. You should probably just decide to get lean, like, you know,
Really.
like early and just go with that. And then if you are on your cycle, you might have a little bit of water retention. And I mean, I don't know, dandelion root is probably tea is probably better just to kind of bring some of that down if someone's on a cycle.
Asparagus,
But
cucumbers, there's like
yeah,
natural things that you can
yeah,
take that'll help if you think that you have water retention. I
yeah.
think the biggest thing with this one and the next myth that we're going to talk about is that people, and this is hard, I struggle with this myself, people that for like 65 at 70-ish% of their prep, they're sort of half in, half out, not like on point. And in the last like 30% of it, they're on point, but they don't feel ready. And so, like, as the calories get leaner and leaner, the cardio gets higher. I feel like it's easier to be like on top of things and motivated and driven. But
Hmm.
it's just important on day one, on week one, on month one of your prep to be on top of it and in it
Hmm.
100% every single day so that you are ready in time so that you're not leaning or feeling like you need to lean on things like water pills, diuretics, or myth number four, which is, do you want to take it?
Sure. Fat burners are necessary to get lean. That's myth number four. The truth is, they are a tool that you can utilize. To me, I actually think that they're better for like appetite suppression. And I
Hmm.
mean, that's any caffeine really in general. They're optimal for giving you more energy as your body gets a little bit more run down. Again, they're not like a fix it all. It's more like, hey, let's help you push a little bit harder during your cardio. Let's help you, have a little bit of more willpower and stamina to get through the day and things like that. So they can, if you overuse them, they can really impact your adrenal glands. They do produce cortisol just like caffeine. Those things can be overdone and it can have a big impact on your adrenal glands, your uh, cortisol production, and just giving you like a little bit of anxiety if you're a person that's anxious. Jitters, you can have a hard time sleeping if you are taking too much. Your body maybe metabolizes it slower and you're waking up in the middle of the night. But yeah, those are some things to think about. Uh, Especially if you're waking up in the middle of the night and going pee multiple times, that's probably a good it's probably a good indicator that your adrenals are kind of getting a little bit of a hit there. If you're craving salty foods, that's another one. And you're doing copious amounts of caffeine and just really not feeling like it's affecting you, is when you're kind of overdoing it. So those kind of things like yohimbine, like um, DB goddess, thyroid drive, like those are things that can be like cycled over like a 6 to 8 week period, just so that your body doesn't get so used to them and things like that.
Hmm. Okay. Next one is myth number five. You have to be in a constant calorie deficit. You need time outside of a calorie deficit. In your season as a competitor, this is a bodybuilding competition. So you definitely need time to reverse. You need time in maintenance. You might need time in a slight surplus, just depending on how easy it is for you to put on muscle tissue. And then you need to set up your metabolism for a healthy prep. So if you are in the off season, in the improvement season, trying to stay lean, trying to stay in a calorie deficit, you are just setting yourself up for not a sustainable prep. And also, you're not going to improve. You're not going to get on stage looking any better. You might even look worse. You might lose some muscle mass. So, you definitely need time outside of a calorie deficit.
Yeah, and if anything, if it is a prolonged dieting period, a lot of things that I'll utilize, like some of the tools that I have in my toolbox is like doing a double refeed, having like 5 days on a low calorie deficit and then having 2 high days. And that kind of just keeps the thyroid healthy,
Mhm.
gives you a little bit of bump in energy. And a lot of times I'll find that cortisol will go down. Dr. Bill Campbell has done a lot of research on these like double refeeds and diet breaks, similar to the Matador study where you go, you know, 2 weeks of maintenance calories and then 2 weeks of a severe deficit, and just making sure that we're maintaining as much muscle as possible when we are in a dieting phase and doing it on a correct timeline so that there aren't too many adaptations, is really, really important for protecting your metabolism. So, myth number six is that more supplements equals better results. And the truth about that is, and I think I talked about this on the Protein Brothers podcast if anyone listened, but if you think about like the old school food pyramid, right? We know that the old school had the grains at the bottom, but
Mhm.
anyways, like if you think about that as your nutrition and then your training and like your sleep and your recovery, supplements are at that tippy top of the pyramid where the fats used to be for on the pyramid of food scale, or of the food pyramid is what I
Mhm.
meant to say. You know what I was talking about, didn't you? That's where the supplements go. They are just like that 1%. They fill in the nutritional gaps. I think the most important thing is if you are trying to address something like um, you're on a low calorie budget, like, you're at the end of prep, you really need like a multivitamin, like you need some fish oils, some omega-3s. Like you need to be supplementing, vitamin D3 because you're not actually getting that from the micronutrients of your foods.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we need to really fill in those gaps. And that's where it can be helpful. Things such as like magnesium, creatine, those can be important for like recovery, digestion, performance in the gym. Those are all really helpful. And even just like protein powder and things like that with, supplementing. Um, if you're a hard gainer and you just need to have some extra calories, that's an easy way to consume some
Mm-hmm.
calories and get your adequate protein in that you're trying to go for. We both don't understand that, but other people do. I only understand the ice cream side of it, but I need it for my ninja
Oh
creamy.
yeah, sweet tooth, yes. But yeah, I never have a hard time hitting my protein ever.
Yeah.
Okay, myth number 7, everyone has to prep the same way. So there is a one size fits all prep that works for everyone. It's hours of cardio and asparagus and tilapia. No, absolutely not. And also, just general fitness, muscle building, improvement season, even your improvement season is going to look different from someone else's. Someone else might be in the exact same height class, division, everything as you, and they're still going to prep different. So,
Yeah.
lifestyle, genetics, your training age, so how long you've been training, your muscle maturity, your metabolism, your genes, just what you prefer, what brings you joy. There are multiple ways to get to the same stage as someone else. And if
Yes.
you have a good coach, they will not have a cookie cutter copy paste plan that they give to all their athletes. They're going to give you a personalized nutrition protocol, exercise, workout training plan protocol, cardio protocol. All of your protocols should be individual to you because your coach listens to you and gets your feedback, both like your feedback of what you prefer and then the feedback from
Mhm.
your body as well.
Yeah. And just closing thought, the mindset myth prep should feel miserable if you're doing it right. That is incorrect. That is absolutely false. And the truth is that if it's challenging, that doesn't have to equal suffering. It can be hard. It can be difficult. And I just think that, you might be pushing the envelope, like just like any professional athlete in a sport. You can't say that people that do like however many baseball games professional baseball players play, like that's hard on the body.
Mhm.
And that is not like a balanced life. Like they're playing baseball literally all year round, except for like 1 month they get off. That's hard on their bodies. But no one's going to question that they're pushing themselves because that's their sport. That's what they do. They perform and they do what they can to, they enjoy the sport. And just like if you do enjoy the sport, you enjoy the process, you enjoy the journey and embrace it. It really shouldn't have to be, at times it might be challenging. It might be difficult to make those hard decisions, but the payoff at the end is so worth it when you can dig and find that discipline in the shadows of when no one's watching, make those decisions that are going to make you proud. Um, you know, those hard decisions are what sets us apart. And that's why it is so hard to be a bodybuilder. But it's also at the same time so rewarding to think that you're part of that elite group.
Love it. That was great. Okay, so if you're watching on YouTube or if you're just listening and want to DM us, comment or send us a DM and tell us something, a myth, either that you want us to debunk or a myth that you believed for a long time until it was debunked. I would love to hear some more myths that people are spreading out there.
Yes, and don't be shy to tag us on your story. We're found on Instagram at Prep Life Podcast or at Glam Girl Bikini. And feel free to DM us any questions that you have about your prep or topics that you want us to cover. Feel free to leave a rating and review. We are an ad-free podcast, and just sharing that love helps spread the word to other people. If you would like to apply for coaching with Lee Marie or myself, you can go to glamgirlbikini.com and hit the Get Started button. Thanks for listening, guys.